When we first arrived at the KPN resort in November 2024, it was hard to imagine what this place could become. The design had been months in the making, with multiple trips back and forth to finalize plans and settle details. But now, standing on top of a steep hillside looking down a 100-meter slope to the beach below, what we were really staring at was mud. Koh Phangan's rainy season tends to lag behind the mainland by a month or two. So while we had hoped to capitalize on softer soil and natural watering for the planting process, what we actually faced was something closer to a construction zone swamp. But at least this wasn't our first hillside. We've seen what's possible with a bit of vision and a lot of groundwork. The owners built KPN Resort right up a harsh slope, and they were rightly concerned about water management. To deal with runoff, they'd hired a separate contractor to install a man-made stream, designed to collect rainwater and funnel it safely down the hillside to the beach. On paper, this was a brilliant idea. But this meant that every decision we made, from soil levels to plant placement, had to account for this water system. So we began, as always, with groundwork, bringing in truckloads of topsoil and grading sand to carve out usable spaces along the slope. We carefully plotted pathways, planting beds, and lounging areas around the terrain, each needing careful reinforcement to keep them from slipping away. And because the resort buildings were constructed so close together, we couldn't actually maneuver any vehicles in, so we ended up doing a lot of manual labor. We were just getting into a rhythm when the rains returned with a vengeance. We'd gambled on the wet season working in our favor, but instead it brought delays, danger, and daily setbacks. We had to write off entire days as heavy downpours turned paths into slides and made hillside work hazardous. And more than once, boulders even dislodged, crashing down unexpectedly, and we had a few near misses. Meanwhile, our supply chain faced its own battle. Delivering plants and trees to Koh Phangan means ferries, and ferries don't run in storms. So, larger palms and materials sat in limbo on the mainland as trip after trip was cancelled. We were stuck, ready to plant, but with nothing to plant. And then, the stream failed. The geotextile lining that was meant to hold the channel in place collapsed in multiple sections, overwhelmed by the rainfall. It wasn't our system, so technically it wasn't our responsibility. But we also knew that if it wasn't fixed, it could unravel the whole project. So we stepped in. We reinforced the banks, reattached the liner, and reshaped the failing areas. We added improved drainage points and helped ensure that when the next storm came, and it did, the water would stay where it was supposed to. Eventually, the skies began to clear. Ferries resumed, deliveries arrived. And with a renewed sense of momentum, we could finally bring the landscape to life. We started with MacArthur palms, tall and hardy, to provide privacy and create a green upper layer. Then came alocasia, heliconia, and exotic fan palms, all helping to create a dense, layered tropical feel. We used wax palms, betel nut, and foxtail palms to create structure and scale, blocking unsightly views and giving the resort a sense of maturity. Then, dramatic Bismarck palms and Livingstonia rotundifolia made bold statements along the slope, while at the very top, near the entrance, we planted Song of India and Bougainvillea to inject color and vibrancy. With the backbone of the garden in place, we turned to the detail work. We used ferns and ground covers, which will thrive in the dappled light created by the palms, to soften the stream beds. Then we planted star jasmine, lily turf, and bromeliads to bring contrast and design to the lower levels. As each piece slotted into place, the rugged slope became something else entirely, the lush, tropical hideaway it was meant to be. And finally, we grassed in the poolside and slope edges using broadleaf Malaysian grass. This grass is hardy, low maintenance, and well suited to both sun and shade. When we finally finished, I think our whole team took a step back and a deep breath, because in the end, this project took everything we had. We battled through bad weather, terrain problems, ferry cancellations, and broken systems that we didn't even install. But we stayed adaptable, we stayed focused, And we delivered something that we're all incredibly proud of. A garden that feels rooted in the landscape, yet elevated in design. Out of a muddy, rain-soaked challenge, the KPN resort now sits in the heart of a thriving tropical garden, with winding pathways, stunning trees, and the sound of a stream that flows just as it was meant to. We're proud of our team, and grateful to the KPN owners for trusting us with such a bold vision, and we can't wait to see how this garden continues to grow.